Hey everyone, so today we're going to be installing some Underglow. The kit that I have is super bright. I'm talking 130 watts at max brightness bright if you want it to be. That's a lot of watts, guys. What's great about it though is it's high on voltage, low on current, so that means it won't be extremely excruciating hot wherever you plug it in. Speaking of plugging it in, this can actually plug into the USB-C ports in your center console. It could also be plugged into the cigarette lighter, so the port that's also in the center console, that's DC voltage. It works with USB-C, it works with a cigarette lighter, and of course you can tap it to your low voltage battery in the front. So what am I doing in the trunk area? Well, it's a mess back here because I'm doing a lot of projects. Stay subscribed for those. I have an external battery back here though. It is huge, and this is what I'm going to be plugging my Underglow into. So as you see, you can plug it into pretty much anything. It's so versatile. They give you so many options and so many colors. This thing looks great. Even though I'm installing this on my Tesla, guys, this kit can actually work with any car. So it doesn't have to be Tesla. If you get any vehicle, you can tap this in. Oh my gosh, does it look great. There is an app for it, and I'll have it in the description below where I go through it and setting it up and everything, pairing it. It's super easy. And if you have the interior lighting kit from T-Loyal, it actually uses the same app. So you're in the same ecosystem and everything is just easier. It's also cheaper for anything that I could find on the market for the value that this gives. So check it out in the description below. Use Tesla FPV at checkout to save you, I think, over $100. And it stacks on any like discounts that they're already going with. So this is great. Let's take some inventory. We're gonna go over the parts that the kit comes with as well as some tools that you'll need. So first you have the Underglow itself. It's kind of a mess of wires right now because I did not put it in this box correctly. I did. That's no fault of them. What's cool is that you can see the PCB inside and it's black, which is great because you don't want to see the PCB, you want to see the LEDs. And what's great about this is there's actually a black strip that hides the LEDs, so you won't get any naked exposed LEDs on the side, which don't look very good. And there's other kits out there like Teslux Low Glow, I think, and a few others that just have a clear tubing. No, we're not doing that. You do not want to see the LED bulbs, guys, and this hides them. It's also water sealed, waterproof, watertight. At the ends of all the strips, there's silicone inside of it, which hardens and makes it so that there's no water that can get in. Unlike older models of Teslux lights, I actually gave them the suggestion to finally seal it, and it took them forever to listen, but these lights come with it to where the wires go into the tubes, so it's super watertight. You don't have to worry about anything messing with the wires. It's all one long piece. Once you come to the top, you have these wires, and then you have the control box, and the control box is a DC port. So that DC port, you know, as long as you have a DC male going in, you can have the other end being whatever you want. It also comes with these clear plastic clips, which is great because some other Underglow kits don't come with clips at all, because adhesive, trust me guys, after prolonged driving, adhesive is not going to hold this down. Some other kits tell you to buy your own clips, but they don't even give instructions where or what you should buy. But these come with clear clips, which is awesome, and a remote. But I'm gonna have mine turn on and off automatically. So that'll be in a different video because that's a modification to these. Stay subscribed for that because it's gonna be fun and it's pretty simple. But yeah, this is the remote and all the functions associated with it. I think you get these adhesive pads too. Maybe not. I might have thrown them in here, but if it does come with it, that's great. If it doesn't, well, it should come with it because we're going to use one of these pads to stick it on the controller onto whatever it is that you're sticking onto nearby. I'm going in the back, going through the back, and that process is going to be pretty simple. Let's actually take a look at it together. Underneath the car, you'll have this access panel. You're going to want to take this off. It's pretty simple to remove. There's two little circles with like a flathead female part that you're just going to want to stick a flathead in and twist it. You're not going to want to take those off because those stay in. You twist it, you unlock it, and then you can drop this part down. This is just an access panel right here, and that'll give you a lot of working room when you're going inside of here. Now you're going to want to take a drill and you're going to want to drill a hole. This is my old Underglow, the Underglow that I'm going to be using in conjunction with the new one because the new one is much brighter. But you're going to want to drill a hole right here. Once you drill a hole, you'll be able to get the wires in right here, and then you're going to wire it through here, up here. Once you're inside of here, pull the carpet back. How did I get to this step? Well, you're going to want to remove the panel that's down here. All you're going to do is pull it up and towards the car. It'll come out pretty easily. It's just clipped in. Anyways, there will be a grommet down here. It's going to be blue. So I put it over here already. You can easily pull it out with your fingers. You can see on this side where the grommet is, it's that blue part right there. We're going to remove that grommet, and that's how I'm going to wire that in. Eventually, I'll poke a hole through it and seal it with some silicone, make it watertight again. Now, what if you want to go to the front area, not the rear? Because, okay, fine. Not a lot of people are going to go to the rear. A lot of people are just going to use the low voltage battery in the front. That's fine. All you're going to want to do is remove this. It's just clipped in. You're going to remove the 7 bolts that hold the front tub in. Then you'll have all the working area down here. In the front, you're going to drill a hole right here in the very, very front, very tip. And you're going to fish the wire up along here and then just pull it out and work around up here wherever you want to plug it in. If you want to go through the firewall, you can do that too. If you have any questions about how you want to wire this, just leave a comment below and I'll get back to you about, your situation and what I think is best for you. But you can either go through the front or you can go through the back. Okay guys, sorry about that. I totally forgot to talk about the tools we need. Obviously you're going to need a drill to drill holes into the bottom of your skid plates. That way you can run the wires up. You're going to want a pick tool as well for when you get into the wheel wells, because you will have to remove the wheel well. That way you can run the wires through each part. You might have to remove the wheels. It really depends how low your car is. You couldn't get away with jacking it up, but honestly, it's not necessary if you have like a stock Model 3 with 18-inch wheels and you have tiny wrists. I can slide mine under here pretty easily, but it will make it easier if you're able to jack the car up or if you can just lift it up. So keep that in mind. Depending on how you wire everything, you might need some silicone as well. I'll have that in the description below, as well as all the other tools needed. And that's just to seal off anything to make things watertight. Going back to the wheel wells, when we are wiring the wires through, you're going to want to have zip ties to secure them to something. So definitely zip ties, maybe some strong like Gorilla tape also to tape it up to the top and stuff. Zip ties first though, tape second. Some silicone, some wire cutters also help for when you need to cut the zip ties. If you're going to remove the front tub, which I'm not going to do, you'll need a 10mm socket for all the bolts, as well as a small extension for these two, I believe. You don't want to go in dry, guys. Do not apply these dry to the bottom of your car. And what I mean by that is look how dirty it is under there. So instead of sticking it onto dirt, I'm going to use some alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. It's 91%, and we're going to use that to clean the undercarriage of the car, because I am not going to stick it to any of that. So you also want some towels or something so you can wipe all that dirt off. That's pretty much it, guys. Let's get to this install. Now, this Underglow has a control box that goes to wires that go to the glow, and there's no quick disconnect. Unfortunately, the box is really big and these Underglow wires are pretty big. If you're going through the front tub, if you're able to drill like a 1-inch hole, that would be big enough to fish these wires through. But in the sub trunk, the grommet I was talking about, it's not even big enough to put one of these in. The only thing that would really make it through easily is these black wires, but there's no quick disconnect unless we make one. Yeah, I'm gonna make one. I'm going to start wiring from the opposite side of my entry point into the car. So for me, remember, I'm going in the back. That means that I'm gonna start in the front. I'm just gonna wire it all the way, make sure I have enough cable back here, fish it up and through. I'm going to cut the wire and then reconnect it once the control box is in the cabin. All right, guys, so now that I'm doing this process, I have the Underglow kind of going over the car on the different sides. So this side has one strip, and then the other side, it's gonna have this strip. So I'm prepared for putting it on underneath the car. We're gonna start on this side, and it's gonna be the same for that side. So actually, I'll just do all of this side and then copy it onto this side. Okay guys, so I'm gonna be starting from the back. As I mentioned previously, the front is my back because I'm putting everything in the sub trunk. Now, when we wire it to wherever we want to wire it, there's either two ways you can do it. You can either have the Underglow come out from here. That's one way of doing it. You have it come out and then go under. I don't like that because there's exposed wire right here. I like to keep everything tucked in the wheel well. So you can drill a hole underneath. You can drill a hole there, 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 anywhere really that you want it to be more hidden. Now, remember, these don't disconnect. They're all one wire. So wherever you start wiring from, you're gonna have to keep pulling the Underglow through everything. Since we're eventually going to snip the wire at the control box, I'm actually gonna do that sooner rather than later.
and that way that wire is going to be free. And so when I'm done wiring it up here, I can just start snaking the wire and have it go all the way back.
And so I snipped the box. I'll go over this more later, but there's only 3 wires coming out from each end. Data, power, and ground is pretty much it. We're gonna solder these together and put them to quick disconnect so we can easily pull them in. And if we ever need to service it, for whatever reason, we can easily disconnect it. But before you do that, a very important part is make sure you clean the bottom because you don't want the adhesive sticking to just dust. So get some isopropyl alcohol, the one I told you about earlier. Put it on like a microfiber towel or any towel really, and start scrubbing that surface. You want to get as much dirt off as you can. Yes, you're going to secure the underglow with clips later, but this is just like, you gotta do it. You should do it, so do it. First step, wipe the bottom of your car where you're sticking your glow to.
All right guys, so you can see that I have the wire coming out from here. Now my hole wasn't big enough, so actually on right here, there's this little panel right here. And it actually will clip in once everything is secured, and you can pull the wire out of here. And then this will be more flush right here when it's actually aligned and the clips are in, and everything will look much better. But that's how it's coming out of here. So that is how it's coming out of this whole front part. All right, cool. Now I basically just went in here, and you can see the zip tie right here. I did a zip tie there. I did a zip tie inside of here. It is a white zip tie. There you go. And you can see the wire running to it. From there, I went to the front of the wheel well, and inside here, you can see the wire bunched up right here, and then it's going out of that hole that I drilled right there. And from there, let's take a look under the car. You can see I have my 2 rows of underglow. You can, wire it. You can have it run however you want it to run. And then I just put the clips in with my drill. Drill's right here, and the drill bit at an angle, and then went in. You can see the clips right here. I did one at the tip, one in the middle center part, and then one at the tip, and then one kind of towards the end on that side. So that's how all the clips are. That's how that front part is wired. Oh man, it's a hot day today. Yeah, and then it just goes all up here, down here, and out here. So that's pretty much it, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and close up this front wheel well, and then we can go get to the side right here.
All right, so using that same isopropyl alcohol, I'm going to do the same thing where I clean the entire side right here. Now you can see that you can either clean the black part, the side skirt area, or you can mount it to the battery pack. So you're going to clean whichever area that you're mounting it to. It's really based on preference, and if I only had one strip of underglow, I would mount it to the side skirt, like rocker area. I would do this part because with the battery pack, you can't put the clips into it because you just be drilling into metal, your battery, which I'm not going to do. If you do put the adhesive to your battery, it's going to stick a lot better than the plastic because metal and adhesive sticks better than with just plastic. So I'm not worried about it falling off. Again, it's just on preference there. When you do mount the underglow strips, take your hand with a glove or something with like a little bit of stiffness but isn't too hard and run it along the underglow strips. That way you make sure that the adhesive has a firm bond to whatever you're putting it up against. Alright guys, now it's time to tackle the back side. First, unclip the clips in the rear wheel well. Now unclip as many as you need to. You might not need to take the entire wheel well lining off. I did not need to, but again, preference, totally up to you. It's less work if you don't, so I didn't because I didn't think I need to. And I'll show you a great way to wire this to where I don't think you'll need to either. So first thing, of course, take all the clips off that you need to at least get your hands in there, right? From there, take the black wire and you're going to fish it through. You're going to have to fish through the back strip and as well as the other black wire. And this is actually where I encountered a problem. So the wire connecting the middle strip to my back strip, it wasn't long enough to wire through. This kit is really inexpensive though. I can forgive it for the wires being a little bit too short because if you tuck the wires a little bit in the back, you probably still can do it this way without having to cut the wire or anything, modify it. But I like my wires super secure, and doing it the way I'm doing it makes it a little bit longer of a run because it has to go over the top of the entire wheel well. being secure to the sides also. So I used a little bit more wire. I had to actually cut this wire as well and add a little bit more wire to it. Don't worry, I'll show you how I did that in case you need to do that too. If you do plan on doing it this way, you can snip it somewhere around the middle area, and this will make it a little bit easier to just wire it in initially, because all you're doing is pulling half a wire through. All right guys, so the backside right here, it is incredibly tight, and there's not a lot of working room unless you lift the car, but it still can be done. Another kind of problem is that there's not a lot of points to put your zip ties inside of here, unlike the front. So you can see I have it zip tied to an existing wire. You can do that, or you can get some really strong tape and tape it to the side. That's also an option as well. So I am doing that, and there's two things you can do from there. You can tape it and push it against the back, or if you look up in here in your car, depending on what car you have, but for my car, you can see that you have these little screws that go in, right? So there's one here, and then there's one right here when it's back in place properly. If you can route the wire in between here, this is great, because that means it will not fall out on that side and won't fall out on this side. So that's what I'm going to do. So I have the wire taped over there to make sure it's kept on that side. Then I'm routing it up here in between the clips. So just right down the middle right here, and then there's another set right here, and then it's gonna go to the back. And I'll show you how we do the back in a second. Make sure you remove the clips back here, both of the screw type as well as the regular clips type. So remove all that, open that up, and we'll see what we get from there. Now remember a second ago I said that the wires for me were not long enough? Well, that's what I am inside modifying here. The part on the outside that we're currently doing together, I did that outside and had no problem doing it when strips were on the car. I'm only doing it inside right here just so I can lay everything out and better explain everything. But like I said, I did it on the car previously, and you can do it on the car just fine. Or you can do it inside before you start. So taking a look at this one, we can see I have the front strip laid out here. I have the side strip, which then goes to the back strip. Now the back strip is not long enough. What I did is I used a pair of wire cutters and I just severed it right here. You can see from there, it would be going to the back strip, which now has these connectors on it. But these were previously connected like this. I added this piece of wire right here. There's 3 wires coming out of this. This black part right here, it's 10 gauge. So when you strip it, make sure you're using a 10 gauge stripper. From there, the individual wires inside of it are about 20 gauge. So when you strip it, use 20 gauge to strip the insulation off that. From there, I use these wire ferrules. I use the smallest type right here. Remember, everything I have will be in the description below the like button. And I use them, crimp that together on these, and then from there, use these male ends and crush the ends so everything makes good contact. And we essentially have quick disconnects because these are going to plug into these female ends. This wire I just soldered onto here again. I use this Gorilla Clear Grip. It's a silicone adhesive and it makes it watertight. So I essentially layered inside this entire piece of tape right here. It's electrical tape first off, but I did it with this. So it's insulated, it's watertight, and it makes the whole holding stronger. This is really all the extra length that I need. It's super minimalistic. You only really need a little bit more, which kind of sucks, but whatever. And so looking back at the back strip, all I did was cut the insulation, as you know, expose the 3 wires. Remember, the black is 10 gauge. The individual wires are 20 gauge. Use the ferrules on them, put them in, crimped them in these female ends. And these ends, male, just go to female, boom. Make sure you connect everything the right way. So if I do have to give you a little product demo right here, I had the blue color go to the green on my color scheme. These are great because they essentially are just gonna clip in like this. They're locked in. They're not watertight, but they are pretty sealed with all this rubber around them. And they're all isolated. Each of the connections are isolated, so you don't have to really worry about shorts or anything like that. So on both ends, I basically just crimped the wires. The wires I'll have in the description below the like button. It's 18 gauge, not 20 gauge. So the ferrules I'm using are the blue ones, the second kind. When you buy the ferrules, it'll have a whole chart and it'll tell you which one to use. But you're just gonna go in, you're gonna crimp it, make sure all of them are tight. I use white ones for the 20 gauge that's coming out of the Underglow, and then the blue ones, the blue ferrules for the 18 gauge that's coming out of the wire that I'm adding on.
And from there, I'm just going to get the female or male ends. I'm using the female ends for this side, but remember, it doesn't really matter as long as you use the opposite on the other one. And I'm going to crush them so that the ferrules are stuck inside of those adapters so they won't come out. You don't want these to come out. And as for soldering, you can see that I've already done the red one. Now I'm going to do the green and blue together. I'm putting it into some solder paste, which helps the solder stick better and it prevents oxidization. It's basically just tree sap, which is really nice. You can see how cleanly the solder is going onto these wires. Oh yeah, make sure you have a fan and a filter to clear all that smoke out, especially if you're doing this inside. But like I said, this little solder paste, whatever it's called, it's basically tree sap and it makes it so much easier for the solder to melt onto and get a nice clean solder. So just put it on both wires and then have the wires be tangled together. That way it performs a good connection, just continuously spinning the wires around each other, and then get your soldering iron, some solder, and give it a layer of solder. Make sure to suck all those fumes off when you're done, and then if you have like a sponge, make sure you're cleaning off your solder tip afterwards. From there, before I slide the heat shrink tubing on that's on the left that you can see, I use that same silicone gel, and I'm basically putting it on so it creates a watertight seal when it hardens. When you slide over the heat shrink and you heat it up, it's going to push out any of this goo residue to the sides, and when it hardens, it will make it watertight on the sides. I really like this a lot because it also makes your connections stronger because it hardens it up. So you can see I'm sliding them on, then I'm going to take a hair dryer to it because hair dryers work, and you can see the goo kind of squeezing out of the ends. Now I'm going to put the black insulation back on. I just cut it down the middle, and then I'm going to put some of the goo, the silicone, on that, and then I'm going to wrap it in electrical tape. And that's pretty much how I formed that connection. You could use heat shrink tubing, probably better, but it doesn't really matter because once it hardens, it's going to harden and it's going to be solid with the tape on there. Alright guys, so you can see I have the underglow going along here, and I have another strip right here. So there's two different ways you can wire it. It's really based on preference, but I have them going into this hole right here, which is going into the wheel well that we wired up a second ago. Now, if you needed to cut the cable, you needed to add more length, this is basically what I did. So when I did it on this side, I was out here kind of just soldering. This cable was just dangling from here, and I did all of that. Put this cable back in, and then this bottom part is the new part, right? It's basically this part. And what I did was, remember, we cut this bit off, and this is going to the control box. So I took this bit, and from here, I fished it down, in and out. So all of that cabling is just gonna go like this. So that's gonna pull this wire through, and then inside of here, you're just left with this. And there I connected this with the one coming from that middle strip, just connected them together, and then put them in, zip tied them together to that point. There's a little point right there. You can zip tie it or not zip tie it, because remember, it's being secured like up here very well. And then, yeah, guys, it just comes out of the bottom right here. It's pretty much it. And so for this side, I already have that extended cable length on it, so it's going to be harder to route because this is pretty thick to be fishing through some holes, but no matter. For this side, when I go on here, if you're going to do it like this, you're going to do it inside before you come out. I'm just going to put this on the ground, and I'm going to start on here. So I'll basically take this cable, and if I'm putting it in a hole right here, I'm going to fish it through the hole out so it comes out for the outside right here. Fish all of this cable through, pull it all the way to the front. When I reach the front, fish it through the hole, or like the other side, if I'm not doing a hole and I'm just doing through the panel right there, I'll just make sure the wire is going through the panel, through the wheel well, into the hole outside, and then through there. So you can see, like I said, it's not that big of a difference if you do the wiring extension on the inside or outside with your car. Really just based on preference. It doesn't matter. And I guess convenience, it is more convenient to do it inside. At least if you're in California, where it's super hot in summers, because it was super hot out here. Now let's talk about getting the wire into the cabin. If you're doing it from the front area, you probably already have it in there. Just use a wire to fish it up through and then connect it to your 12-volt battery or your 16-volt battery. Though if you're connecting everything to the back right here, you can see I have this long cable right here. I have this metal one. You can use either or, and you're basically going to pass that cable through the grommet. So pass the cable through the grommet, have it come out through here, and then when it comes out, you can see that this cable is attached, and then you're just going to pull it up. Now the hole is right here in the middle. My underglow is super long on this side how I wired it, so I have to wire the cable through here, But don't worry, I'm gonna have clips that secure this cable firmly to the car so I don't have to worry about it coming undone or getting snagged on anything. That's worse, but it's basically gonna come out through here and then into the cabin. And so that's pretty much it, guys. That's the last thing I really have to do, except I guess put the control box back together, because remember, I did cut it, and I'm basically gonna do the same thing with the quick disconnect idea. You could do that, or you can just solder it straight together. It doesn't really matter, either way works. Or you can just use clips and clip these 10 gauge wires together. Really doesn't matter, either or works. And then you have this little DC port, so you just plug it into power. But that's pretty much it, guys. So yeah, that is my second row of Underglow. I chose teal whale for this project just because it's so much cheaper than the other options. Oh my gosh, let me tell you, it is so much less expensive just to get these strips. You might need to do a little DIY like this to get it into your cabin if it doesn't fit. If you're doing it from the front, it's no problem because you can just push the wires down and through, just the back right here. But I highly doubt many people are wiring it through the back. But if you are, now you know how to do that. So definitely get your own teal oil kit. Super inexpensive with the discount code I have for you in the description below. And let me know how your install goes. Let me know if you have Underglow. Let me know if you want Underglow and why you would choose a different kit, because I would like to know. Maybe I'll get 3 rows of Underglow. I'm not actually gonna do that. 2 rows is enough. If you have any questions about the install, or if you have any concerns when you're doing your install, just put a comment below and I'll make sure to get back to you ASAP. All right, guys, see you later. Have a great rest of your day. And if it's the weekend, have a great weekend.